Today marks one of the major dates on the Jacksonville sports calendar. It's race day for the Gate River Run. For the top runners, it's a chance to be crowned as the national champion at 15K. Emily Sisson has been draped in the Stars and Stripes the past 2 years. Today, she could become just the second woman ever to win 3 straight river runs. But this race isn't just about those gunning for a national championship. For the other 12,000 or so, it's about competing against themselves or their friends, or maybe the Green Monster. As the throngs work their way around this 9.3-mile course, they'll see plenty of Jacksonville and plenty of Jacksonvillians. The support along the course is remarkable. So whether racing for glory, for themselves, or for someone else, today is the running day in Jacksonville. It's the 46th running of the Gate River Run, and it's next here on Channel 4. And you are looking live at the start line area in the sports complex for the Gate River Run, the national championship 15K. Somebody will be taking home the men's national championship, the women's national championship, and so many more goals will be accomplished today by runners from Jacksonville, from the area, and from across the country at the 46th Gate River Run. And there, of course, is the Main Street Bridge, the first of 2 bridges that the runners will cross. There will be a mass of humanity coming across the Main Street Bridge. They'll work their way into San Marco, to Watney Park, where they will be about the halfway point. You can see the cones there. They're about ready to close down the street for the race. They'll hear the music from the bands that are setting up. There'll be a water station right here as they start to work their way toward the Green Monster. Here's what it looked like last year. Look at all those runners coming across the Hart Bridge. That is the signature point of this course as we get ready for the Gate River Run. And here in studio with me, 1996 U.S. Olympian Keith Brantley, back for another year on the call, the former Gator. We say always a Gator, always a marathoner, always an Olympian once you get there. But certainly one of my favorite days of the year in sports. And Keith, great to be back with you. It's a huge day for everybody in the running community.
Great to be here, Cole. And you know, this is a fantastic day. It's going to be warm and humid out there, but it's a national championship. So in the end, it doesn't really matter what the times are. It's who crosses that line first.
One of the big things we'll be talking about is the impact of the weather. One of the other big storylines, of course, is the impact of Emily Sisson, the 2-time defending champion, back to try to become just the second woman to win 3 straight Gate River runs. And she has impacted this race as well. But let's get you set up with what's going on around the course right now. We have you covered from here to, well, pretty much everywhere. Let's start with Jamal St. Cyr and Julie Stackhouse, who are at the start line right now. Jamal, unlike past years, you're going to lose your analyst here in just a bit.
Yeah, Julie's getting ready to run the race here in a little bit, so she's hanging out with us beforehand. She's been warming up a little bit before we got ready, so she'll be ready to go. But there's a lot of excitement here. Things are really starting to pick up here at the start line.
Yeah, Jamal, I said last year watching it, you know, it was so exciting. I wanted to just jump in, so this year I'm going to do it. But yeah, everyone's starting to crowd in, and they're getting warmed up and ready to go.
All right, we'll have plenty more coverage here from the start-finish line. Cole, Julie's going to jet out, and she's going to run a pretty good time. So we'll have to keep an eye out for her at the finish line a little bit later on.
We'll do that for sure. Of course, she'll be having to go up over the Hart Bridge, the Green Monster. That's where we find Justin Barney along with Mike Ryan, the former Jaguars head athletic trainer, and an Ironman himself. Guys, give us a sense of what it's like up on the Main Street, or rather on the Hart Bridge.
That's right, Cole. It's, you know, Mike and I just got dusted with a little bit of rain, but the sun is out behind us now. These conditions, good for maybe a record run today.
Could be. There's actually a tailwind coming up at Hart Bridge. A welcome feel for the runners.
So back to Mike and I will have you covered from the Green Monster. Cole, back to you and Keith.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, that Green Monster, always a big storyline. Let's take a look at the course here. Not many changes. There have been several changes over the past 4 or 5 years because of construction in the area, because of COVID and precautions there. But this is the same course we saw last year, almost exactly, Keith. Let's talk about the key points on this course. Where are going to be the pressure points for these runners, both the elites and for the recreational runners?
You know, for the elite runners, you're going to see them kind of cruise out get through that first mile or so, get to over the Main Street Bridge, and kind of, they're kind of sussing things out, looking around, to see where the paces are really impacting them from the heat perspective. Recreational runners, same thing. And I would be really concerned for the recreational runners. Give themselves a chance for those first 3 miles to kind of get a feel for how the heat's impacting you.
Well, the heat is going to be a story. There's no doubt about that. John Gaughan says this is going to be the hottest start time and start temperature in the history of the Gate River Run. He's been tracking that, and so we'll see how that all looks as we get closer. 74 degrees right now officially, and the elite women will be the first to go off. They'll have a little bit of a break from the heat. In about 20 minutes, they will start, and then the rest of the field begins rolling out at 8 o'clock. We'll talk about that 5-minute gap and what that means when we come back. We're getting closer to start time of the Gate River Run. Stick around, there's more to come right after this here on News4Jax and News4Jax.com. And just about 16 minutes away from the start for the elite women, the first group to go off. There will be some nerves right now, a few butterflies getting ready for this national championship. There is a total of somewhere in the 13,500 range of total runners in this 15K this week. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. One of those 13,500 is with Jamal St. Cyr. That is, of course, Julie Stackhouse, a 5-time winner of the First Coast Cup, local runner, and she's going to jump into this field, Jamal, and get things rolling here right out of the gate. A little different field for us this year.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Julie's now pulled the wardrobe change. She's getting ready to get out. I think the first wave of wheelchair runners is getting ready to leave here in a little bit. Julie, what do runners have to do to kind of get ready for a race like this one?
Yeah, Jamal, I always recommend maybe sign up for a 5K and get your feet wet with that. And then if you feel ready to progress to a 10K, great. And, give yourself several months or maybe even a year. Set the 15K as your goal for next year. But I would say that anybody can do it. There are going to be a lot of run walkers out there today. Not everybody's elite. This event is really about celebrating community, just getting out there and getting our bodies moving.
Yeah, she's been trying to kind of convince me to see if I can run for next year. I don't know. I've never been a runner, but like you said, it's something that a lot of people can do, and, it's a lot of excitement around this race.
Absolutely. And, like I said, you've got Olympians, but then you're going to see just everybody out there just enjoying being back, the community fully supporting this, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's a lot of excitement here. Things are really starting to pick up here at the start line. Cole, Keith, we'll keep an eye on everything as the runners start to hit the course.
I just appreciate that Jamal color coordinated with Julie with the purple.
I like that too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like they had that planned.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly. Well, there will be a lot of folks running as teams today, trying to keep each other going and moving forward. Again, weather is a major factor today, the heat. Yeah. It's too late for you to hear this if you're out there right now, but we'll be keeping a close eye on how the runners deal with the heat early on, with temperatures in the 70s, very humid as well. And we will see how that impacts not only the elite runners, but everybody else who comes along. We should tell you as well that our coverage goes till 10 o'clock here on News4Jax. And then even after that, if you want to keep an eye out for some of your friends and neighbors running, we will have streaming the finish line cam on News4Jax.com. So something to keep a close eye on. We'll have more from the Gate River Run when we come back. We'll check in at the Green Monster. The impact of the final mile and a half a mile up and then a mile down to the finish line as we get closer to the start of the 46th Gate River Run right here on Channel 4. Another shot from overhead at the start line of the Gate River Run. This is down in the sports complex right next to the fairgrounds. You see 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark. It would be a long home run to left to get to the start line from there. And this shot to give you some sense of the scale, the number of people lining up. And these start gates go all the way back to the stadium and into the lot, Keith. So, again, when you have 13,500 or so entered into this race, there are some logistics to get everybody lined up.
Yeah, well, the start is not the start because, you know, if you're the last person that's starting, it's going to take you about 15 minutes across the starting line.
Yeah, you'll have some time to get warmed up, as if you need that on a day like this. All right, that's the start. So many times we've seen this race come down to who can handle the Green Monster. Last year, we certainly saw that with our men's competition. That's when the field stretched out. On top of the Hart Bridge, Mike Ryan is with Justin Barney. And guys, we know that's when the race can really turn.
Yeah, Cole, I mean, the Green Monster today, if you're up here, you can see the hair blowing and stuff. The wind is absolutely whipping today. And it's not just running this bridge, it's where this bridge is in the race. Mike, when you get to this finishing stretch, I mean, this is the heartbreaker for a reason. How difficult is it in these conditions with this wind today like it is?
It's very difficult. Actually, the wind may be a help here because it's actually pushing you up the bridge, which is a big aid. You need anything you can to get up this bridge. What people don't realize is from the base of the bridge to the other side, close to the finish line, is 1.5 miles. That's a very daunting distance, a very steep hill, in a very long stretch going into the home stretch.
Yeah, it has broken many hearts. And interesting this year is the equalizer bonus. We saw last year Emily Sisson all alone on the Green Monster. This year, I know race organizers are hopeful that they'll see a little bit more competition during that stretch, and this is certainly made for that kind of finishing close with Emily and possibly a man in this race.
Absolutely. And taking that 1 extra minute out of that equalizer is a huge difference. We're going to have a great view here of seeing that run down because the Hart Bridge is where the chase really starts. And we're going to see where she is. She has some competition this year. She wants to go for a three-peat. I think we're going to see a lot of action on this bridge in a great finish.
Yeah, 47-23 for Emily Sisson. Can she get under that 47 mark? Justin and Mike checking in the Green Monster. Back to you, Cole and Keith in studio.
All right, thank you guys. Yeah, well, last year Nico Montanez made his move on the Green Monster, and that really separated. He was able to go by and wind up winning. Montanez not in the field this year, so we will have a new champion, at least not a repeat champion. There are some others who have had some good finishes, including a two-time winner, Leonard Career, in this race. But let's take a look at some of the times that we could be looking at, both historically and last year. There's Emily Sisson's time from last year, 47.28, the fourth fastest time in the history of this race. And you see Shalane Flanagan's 47 flat as the record. Keith, will that record be challenged today?
You know, I think Emily's going to have a tough go at it. I think that with the conditions the way they are, the humidity, the road being slick, you know, we don't ever take that into account sitting here in a dry studio. But in the end, it really makes the race slow. So that's going to be a big factor.
All right, we are hearing now that there will be a 10-minute delay in the start of the race. We will get you more information on that. Jamal St. Cyr is checking in with that information. So the elite women will go off at 8:05. So, all right, let's talk about how this impacts those elite women and everybody else who thought, all right, I'm about ready to go. They've done their warm-ups. Runners can be creatures of habit, particularly as you get ready for the start of a race.
Trust me, it is disconcerting at best. You know, you time your warm-up to where you are absolutely as hot and as warm as you possibly will when that gun goes off. So this is a little bit of a challenge.
All right, so now you've warmed up. You're getting yourself in a position to try to get into that flow rate, that flow zone. What do you do here for when you have this extra 10 minutes suddenly inserted?
Keep walking, jogging lightly, you know, making sure your legs are still warm. What you don't want to do is start standing around, letting your legs start to get a little bit tight again.
Yeah, so again, we were looking at some of those times from the past and the record times. We know that Todd Williams' record of 42:22 isn't going to be approached today. That is a record that has stood since 1995. As you take a look here at the start line, you see some of the elite women there getting ready to hopefully go. Some heads shaking right now. And also some of the wheelchair athletes also. So they're working to try to get everything coordinated. This is an on-the-fly situation, too. Again, typically these start times would not be impacted by anything other than lightning. So we're not exactly sure the reason for this. Could be something logistically in terms of traffic being an issue somewhere down the course. Wanting to make sure that that's cleared. Not really sure, but we'll work to get you more information on that. Let's take a look at some of the history that could be made today as well. We've talked about Emily Sisson going for her third straight Gate River Run Championship. only one runner has, on the women's side, has won 3 straight, and that was Dina Drozen-Caster, who won 4 straight at one point, and 6 overall. She and Meb have the record for most wins at this event in their careers with 6 apiece. And you go back to the beginning, Bill Rogers, one of the great distance runners in American history, made such an impact on this race by agreeing to run that race that first year and then winning it. That was a much different time in the Gate River Run and in American running, but he really set things off to begin. So we'll see if we find a 3-time winner today. And then on the men's side, we mentioned Leonard Career, 2-time winner in the past. He could win his 3rd Gate River Run today. He's one of the favorites as we approach the start. We're going to take time out, come back, and get you ready for the start, we believe, of the Gate River Run, the 15K National Championship, right here on Channel 4. You're looking at some of the 16,656 total participants in the Gate River Run. 13,500 of them in the 15K today. A big field for the biggest race of the year in Jacksonville. But again, we have a delay of 10 minutes in the start of things. And Keith, you were talking about the impact this could have on runners. Let's hear from one who is now dealing with that right now. Julie Stackhouse with Jamal. This is a little bit of a curveball that's been thrown at the start of this thing.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a curveball. The announcement's been coming over the intercom here saying that there's a 10-minute. They're saying now it's because of traffic that there's the 10-minute delays going on. We've got Julie who's actually getting ready to run the race here in a little bit. Julie, how does this 10-minute delay kind of affect some of these elite runners?
Well, Jamal, I actually had a chance to warm up, so the 10 minutes gave me a little boost. But no, really, they plan everything down to the minute. But here's how it affects it. Like a false start in track and field, it's just time to take a deep breath, stay focused on your race, not let it throw you, and do what you came here to do today.
Yeah, I could see some of them kind of starting to get a little bit more active in their warm-ups. Now they've kind of calmed down a little bit, and I guess a couple of minutes as things get closer to start time now, they'll kind of pick back up and try and just stay loose.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll just do a few drills, a few run-outs, and just try to stay calm.
All right, we'll keep an eye on things here at the start-finish line. Again, there's a 10-minute delay here. They said it's because of traffic, of cars trying to get in. So hopefully everything will get going here in just a few minutes. Cole, Keith?
I know that was a concern. Of course, you have a lot more construction going on right now with the Jaguars training facility down there. Some of the traffic patterns have changed. Some of the availability of parking lots is different than it was in the past. So having been down at the River Run Expo on Thursday, I can tell you that it was tricky to get down there, so not a surprise that traffic is at issue right now. However, you know the elite runners are there on the women's side. The elite men, you would think, would have been there for a while. When you were running a race like this, a road race, not at a stadium, what was your plan in terms of when you would get there? How far in advance of a road race would you arrive?
You know, I would make sure that I was, assuming the worst case scenario, and I would at least arrive an hour and a half at the start site before the race. Get in a comfortable place, stay dry, stay warm, and then start my warm-up. I would never allow the traffic to dictate how I was going to arrive at the start.
Always a question too, because particularly from out of town and you're coming in here, you don't know necessarily what the traffic pattern is going to be like. You can look at the course, you can understand where the course goes, but you don't always know what's going to happen in terms of the way that things will play out from a traffic and logistics standpoint. So that's something that when you travel around and you're an elite runner and you run in different places, you've got to find ways to deal with that as well, the question marks.
Absolutely, and again, I think it's important. The recreational runners, they're going to say, hey, the race starts at 8, I'll be there at 7:45. It's not going to work in a big race like this.
All right, we will talk about some of the contenders in this race as well. We've been talking a lot about Emily Sisson. We mentioned Leonard Career. They aren't the only ones who could potentially win a race here. Keith, let's look at some of the runners who you think might be able to challenge those two-time winners of this event. Let's start on the men's side. Hillary Bohr has some significant experience, a third-place finisher last year at the Gate River Run, a two-time Olympian in the steeplechase. Can he challenge Leonard Career?
Absolutely. He has the tools. He's done it before. With his speed at the steeplechase distance and the 1,500 and the 5,000 meters, I wouldn't want to be near that guy at the end.
That's one to keep an eye on. The other one is Tashomi Mekinen, and recently called the best American distance runner you've never heard of. He is Ethiopian-born U.S. citizen now, and he ran 62:28 at the Boston Half to place in 4th. Half marathon can be a pretty good predictor for how somebody performs here at the Gate River Run.
Absolutely. That strength that he showed in that half marathon is really going to benefit him for this course. This is a tough course, and again, I think he'll be ready for that bridge.
All right, those are the men that we'll be keeping an eye on. When we come back, we'll take a look at those who might be able to challenge Emily Sisson and some of the top local runners in this race as well. The Gate River Run, a 10-minute delay in starting the National Championship 15K. Still to come right here on Channel 4. You're watching continuing coverage of the Gate River Run on WJXT Channel 4. And again, we are at the point where we expected the main field to be starting, but a 10-minute delay because of traffic issues. So some logistical obstacles. They made the adjustment, and the elite women will now go off in about 5 minutes from the start of the Gate River Run. Welcome back here into our News for Jack studios. Cole Pepper along with Keith Brantley, the 1996 Olympic marathoner. Keith, we talked about some of the men who could compete for the championship. We know that Emily Sisson is story one right now in this race, but who else could challenge?
I really like Erica Kemp. She's won here before. She's focusing in on the Boston Marathon. This race fits perfectly within her training regime.
She just started, just announced this week that she's going to focus on the marathon distance, and she will debut in the Boston Marathon with that. Remember when she won this race, it was the first time she'd ever run a 15K.
Right.
So talking about somebody who's got some experience here, and then somebody who certainly has had she's rising to the occasion in terms of her race career at this distance is Anna Frisbee. And Annie Frisbee, at 26 years of age, finished 6th last year at the Gate River Run. And in 2021, she led the New York City Marathon at the halfway point. So she has the distance and the capability to run well and fast deep into this race.
She does, and she's been consistently, incrementally improving, and you like to see that in these younger runners.
Yeah, what it takes to be able to improve at a distance. You look at the ages. You've got the wheelchair racers getting underway right now, as you see there. Some of those who will assist them as well going. So this is positive news. We're getting started here. This is sort of the first start of things. But you talk about the ages of the elites here. There are 24 women in the elite field. There are 28 men. And you've got 3 on the men's side who are 34 years or older. And there are 4 on the women's side who are 34 years or older. One of those 34 plus is Leonard Career, who's 36. It's rare to see a 21, 22, 23-year-old distance runner perform at the very top of the elite level. Usually you're later in your 20s or 30s before you really hit your stride.
You do, and it's interesting because I was 34 when I made the Olympic team, and that was ancient back then, because now there's so much support from sponsors, teams that these folks are running with. It allows them to post-collegiately stay in the sport longer, and that allows for better performances as they get older.
I will also point out there are a number of competitors in the elite field who are also coaches at the cross-country or track programs in colleges, sometimes head coaches, sometimes assistants. Some of them are graduate students who are ultra-grad students who have been around for a while. So it keeps them close to the racing community and keeps them in an area where they can work on running while they're working. Sometimes that's a big challenge because unlike an NFL player, most of these runners, have full-time jobs aside, in addition to what they're doing training and competing.
Absolutely. Only 1% are able to really support themselves without having to work a real job. And in the end, that job, that stress takes a little bit away from your running. If you can focus in on your running, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're more likely to get more opportunities to compete, number one, but number two, you improve faster.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And we have seen that when you start to get to the Olympic level competitors. And we have some Olympians in this field as well. There are 2 men who have run in the Olympics. And of course, Emily Sisson on the women's side, who was a finalist in the 10,000 meters at the Olympics. Yep. So both of those are ready to go. All right, we are getting closer to the start of this elite women's start for the race. Should be in about 30 seconds or so. Usually they try to time it up to the top of the minute.
They do.
Make it ready to go. And you see this group of 24 women. Among those in that group is one local runner, Kelsey Pontius, who has been a part of our broadcast in the past when she wasn't racing in this race. But she is ready for that. She's qualified for the Olympic marathon trials for the second time. She's just starting to get in her training pointed toward next February for those Olympic marathon trials. But Kelsey's in that group about ready to get started. And they are off. The elite women have begun at the 46 Gate Winner River Run. And let's see if Emily Sisson takes the lead. You see her with the number 1 bib right there and the blonde ponytail, and she has gone right to the front. No surprise at all. Erica Kemp in the white top is just behind her. This is about what we expected right out of the gate to see Emily Sisson take the lead.
It is, Cole. I think in my mind, this is still this is early. This is very, very early. And you can see, obviously, she is not being challenged by anyone. This is going to be a long race for Emily. Even if, she's feeling good, even if she's in her best fitness, this is basically looking like a 15K time trial right now for her.
Yeah, she has gone out fast in the past 2 years. 2 years ago, by the time she hit the Main Street Bridge, there was nobody around her. And she continues to stretch every stride. She seems to be gaining on that field as she goes past the arena there to her left, the Vistar Veterans Memorial Arena. And look at this gap already building. Now you wonder, as great a runner as Emily Sisson is, will she be impacted by the weather here? She trains in Flagstaff, Arizona. Humidity's not as big a factor, but the heat is.
Yep.
Look at that gap already.
They've had some cool weather in Flagstaff too this winter, and I tend to wonder how much the heat and humidity will affect her. The thing that I like about Emily's stride and about the way she approaches the race is that she doesn't make many mistakes. And this is the type of race that it does not bode well for people who go out too fast.
You see, she just glanced down at her watch there.
Yeah, she definitely, sees the course in terms of the footings. It looks good. Actually, the course looks really dry, which is great. Especially when you're going over the Main Street Bridge. It can be, quite slippery, especially going down that bridge.
There's a gap large enough to let an ambulance go through. That'll tell you something. As she motors down Duval Street, she'll take a left turn and then another left and at the 1 mile mark. But already this gap between Emily Sisson and the rest of the field is impressive. And we are about 2 minutes and change away from the start of the men's elites. As you see, Emily starts to pass some of the wheelchair athletes. And this is the 3rd year in a row where Emily Sisson has gotten out to a fast start, and in the previous 2, nobody could touch her. We made the point earlier about the equalizer bonus. The first runner across the line gains $5,000. The gap last year and for the past several years has been 6 minutes between the elite women starting and the elite men. Emily Sisson has changed the game. Because of her performance, they've made it a 5-minute gap now between the men and the women. And we'll see if anybody can catch her. as quickly as she has gone out, though, Keith, I would be shocked if anybody is going to be able to catch Emily Sisson unless Mother Nature makes her appearance today.
Yeah, it definitely, and again, she's in such great fitness after an American record in the half marathon. She's pointing toward London. She has so much strength right now that she's not really worried about blowing up. I think that she does have that time, that equalizer bonus, obviously on her mind, even probably the record. And she'll know within the first, let's say, 3 miles or so whether or not that record is achievable.
The consistency of her stride is something you've talked about in the past, and we saw it in the U.S. Olympic 10,000-meter trials in Eugene, and that was as remarkable a performance as you'll see as well. And Emily Sisson has opened up a big lead in the first mile of this race. Remarkable to see that, and we'll keep her on the left of your screen. The elite men and the first wave there on the right, and right in the middle, getting ready to take off here will be some of those top contenders we talked about on the men's side, including Leonard Career, Hillary Bohr, Tashomi Mekinen. Also, we'll keep an eye out for Eddie Garcia, who's running in the elite field. He is a Mandarin High School product, now living in South Carolina, but Eddie knows this course very well.
Yeah, he's an Olympian as well. Competed for the Virgin Islands, and fantastic athlete, Florida Gator, and he's a tough runner, very, very tough runner.
All right, the men are underway, and Wave 1 is underway at the Gate River Run. These are all the athletes, local runners for the most part, who have qualified with a time. You can qualify with a 5K time, with a 10K time, with your time in a marathon, and you name it. There are qualifying times that will get you up to a certain point, and you can compete as a result of your time. All right, on the right there is Leonard Career in his Army uniform, the Army top, and Tashomi Mekinen on the left in the dark blue, light blue, and green Nike tank, and nobody breaking away early as the strains of Chariots of Fire play as they get started here at the Gate River Run. No breakaway on the men's side. On the women's side, you see Emily Sisson continues to hold a lead, and we'll see if anybody tries to come with her now as the women's field starting to spread out just a bit.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Cole, the differences between the two. You look at the depth of the women's race is very, very good, but it just shows how much better Emily Sisson is than all the other women in this field. On the men's side, they're much more closely matched, and obviously they're looking at their tactics very similarly as well. Looks like Mekinen is actually, starting to push the pace a little bit as well. He's one that probably can't let this race get slow. He wants to take everybody out to the woodshed and make sure that they're, getting a good whipping.
All right, well, there is the Main Street Bridge. Emily Sisson has hit it, and all the rest of the runners chasing her right now at the Gate River Run. Back with more coverage of the National Championship 15K. We'll keep you updated on what's happening here with the elite women on the left, the elite men on the right. Just underway. First mile plus in for the women. And Emily Sisson making a statement again. Back after this here on Channel 4. Welcome back. The Gate River Run underway. Emily Sisson out in front for the women, and Tashomi Mekinen leading a pack of men on the right side as they continue to work their way toward the Main Street Bridge. Emily Sisson on the left has gone over the bridge and is now on her way toward San Marco. We did see one runner broke away from the trail pack. We'll see if we can get that for you here, but you can see, Keith, on the left, the big gap again for Emily Sisson, who's really in control.
Yeah, the runner in second she's about 10 seconds back, and it really, that surprises me because she's obviously taking a risk, putting herself between that second pack and Emily Sisson, is, a really difficult area to be in.
And you can see the gap there as Sisson makes that right turn and will head down toward the third mile of this race. Again, the start of this race was delayed by 10 minutes because of some traffic logistics that needed to be adjusted. Did not seem to affect Emily Sisson in the slightest as she continues to lead this race. We'll keep a close eye, though, again on the heat. This is the hottest race start temperature rather, for the Gate River Run, according to John Gahn. And the men have just hit the hard bridge. You see Tashomi Mekinen coming over the right side right now. And there's a good look at the gap. Hillary Bohr in second, and I think that's Reed Buchanan in third, trailing. So that's, you see, all the way back in sixth. That third gap is led by Leonard Career, that third group. So tactically speaking, Keith, put us in the minds of Leonard Career here as he sees this group start to stretch out a little bit.
It's still so early, and again, I think that rightfully so, they're keeping an eye on the humidity and the heat. I think that this is going to get significantly more difficult once they get out on Atlantic Boulevard, and folks that are not used to this heat and humidity could crash.
And there is Emily Sisson running under the bridge after making that turn. And again on the right, the men. This will give us a great shot here from Sky 4 of the gap between Emily Sisson and her nearest competitor.
Yeah,
and right now, there it is.
Yeah, now
that gap
it's stretched to about 15 seconds. It was interesting because, again, I think that was an interesting tactic, and I'm sorry I don't know the second place person just by sight, but I think that was a tricky move because you're leaving the comfort of that second pack. And unless you can challenge Emily Sisson, that's an incredibly bold move.
Really is. And again, Sisson continuing to work her way toward the San Marco area. And it is tough to run alone, but Emily Sisson has shown that she can do it.
I think that when you train in a group, it is helpful, but you still need to do some of those long, hard runs by yourself. That mental toughening, that hardening helps a lot, and I know Emily does that quite a bit.
All right, we'll take time out, come back, and continue with our coverage of the 46th Gate River Run, the National Championship 15K. Emily Sisson going for 3 in a row right here on Channel 4. More runners leaving from the start line at the Gate River Run. This will be part of wave 2 as they continue to roll out. Again, 13,500 runners. And look at the colors on the Main Street Bridge. These are pretty fast runners, by the way, who are running here at this point. This is those who have qualified with very good times. And there's a lot of guys in there already caked in sweat. So the heat and humidity is going to be a factor as they come across the Main Street Bridge. And, of course, this just past a mile when they get to the Main Street.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, when you run up a hill, you generate more heat. You also don't get that same cooling because you're actually going a little bit slower. So we don't have as much wind cooling you. So your core temperature will go up. It depends on how much recovery you can get going on the other side of that bridge, but you carry a lot of that heat, and that has a real big effect on performance.
And there is our women's leader and 2-time defending champion, Emily Sisson. And back to her left, some 15 to 16 seconds behind her, is Emma Grace Hurley, the Atlanta, Georgia runner from the Atlanta Track Club. She was 5th at the USA Track and Field 10K Championship last year, and 10th at the 10-mile championship. So she has run some road races and done very well, and she is trying to track down Emily Sisson right now. Easier said than done. On the right side, you see the men's group. This is the lead pack that includes all of the usual suspects, the guys we thought would be involved in this. Hillary Bohr on the right, Tashomi Mekinen in the middle with the dark blue tank top, and with the Army tank over Bohr's shoulder is Leonard Career, the two-time winner. Others in that group include Reed Buchanan, and I think Jacob Thompson is also in there.
Yes.
So this is about what we expected out of this race. No surprises here other than the 10-minute delay in the start. Emily Sisson taking control, and a lot of men in line to try to make a move here, as you see them running down San Marco Boulevard right now and working their way through. We're starting to get some of the 5K splits on this. Emily Sisson ran her first 5K in 11:16. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, well, you want to add 5 minutes to that, I think. I think that would, because of the start basically.
You're right.
Is,
Good point.
You want to add five minutes to that.
Yes.
And so, but that's still quick.
Yeah,
it's still
16:16. And if you start projecting that out, you say, can she get to 47 minutes? That puts her in the neighborhood.
It does. It does. It's going to be close. She is going to lose about 30 seconds off that pace. Maybe not quite 30 seconds, but about 30 seconds in that mile going up the Hart Bridge.
All right, we'll take time out and come back as Emily Sisson works her way through Watney Park in the San Marco area, and we'll head toward Atlantic Boulevard. She is alone in front in the Gate River Run as she tries for a third straight championship. We'll have it for you right here on Channel 4. The next wave is off and running at the Gate River Run. See a few strollers in there.
Cole, that's where I belong, right there. That's exactly where I need to be.
Well, you see a lot of them who are walking their way toward the start line. With that many runners in your area, you got to carve out a little bit of elbow room sometimes.
Well, you know, and the thing that's nice about it is because this is what they call a chip time, not a gun time, you know, you can start in the back of the pack, and it's not really going to affect your time, except you have to weave through a lot of people.
Now, this is my aspirational pace right here. You see these folks coming over the Main Street Bridge.
They're moving.
Yeah, some carry. You see American flags being carried. You have some who will run in full firefighter gear or full.
That's tough on a day like today.
Oh my goodness! Again, the hottest starting temperature in the history of the Gate River Run. And Emily Sisson, we did a little math in the break, well off the record pace, and actually well off her last two times that she's had in the Gate River Run, where she's run sub 48. Right now she's on pace for something in the 48 minutes and change range. Still a good time, not a record-setting time. And again, you see that the fallback to Emma Grace Hurley continues to be stretched out as she makes that right turn and heads to Atlantic Boulevard, coming through the St. Nicholas area here. And on the right, the elite men, Tashomi Mekinen and Hillary Bohr, out in front right now. And these two may start to make this a match race as we get through the San Marco area with the elite men. You see some of the fans lined up along the streets. This is a very community-involved race for those who have run this race. You know there are bands at every mile. You have, in addition to the water stations, you have folks who just camp out in the front yard and have Gate River Run parties for folks to cheer on their friends, neighbors, and the elite athletes who run past them.
Well, in terms of participation, this is the largest 15K in the world. And, you know, the Jacksonville should be and is very, very proud of this event. It's a signature event on the road racing circuit, and it's a world-class race. And
again, you see all of these runners absolutely stacking up at the Main Street Bridge. That's why you have to limit this field and also control the waves. It's not so much running down the road, but when you start going across these bridges, there's no way, there's no bailout. There's nowhere to go.
It is, and the bridge is tricky. You're running over that grading. You need to be able to look down and see where your foot is falling. It is a little bit tricky, even for everyone, for the recreational runners and the elite athletes.
And you start to look in there and say, is that a neighbor? Is that a friend? Is that a boss? Who is that there? And this shot gives you a little more perspective. There's a little bit more room here, side to side, but again, one of the great scenes when you see all those runners coming across. Keith, we've talked in the past about thinking about the Hart Bridge, the Green Monster. The Blue Monster, not nearly as daunting as you come across the main street. But as a runner, at what point do you start thinking about that climb up the Hart Bridge?
When the gun goes off. I can tell you most of the people are thinking about that bridge before the gun even goes off. I tell people, I said, don't build your angst and your race plan around basically what is, an 18th of the distance of this race. It really is about a half mile of really hard running up a very steep bridge, but it is a small portion of the race in totality. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. I can tell you from personal experience, it hurts like crazy. But it shouldn't be the fixation of your total race plan.
There's Tashomi Mekinen and Hillary Bohr leading on the men's side. They've just come through Watney Park. That's about the halfway point of this 9.3 mile course. It was about 4.1 miles when you make that turn right there. And Mekinen and Bohr out in front of everybody else, stretching things out and starting to catch some of the women's elite runners as well. And Emily Sisson on the left, it looking like a coronation for a two-time champion trying to win her third straight. We'll take time out as Emily Sisson approaches the Green Monster. More to come right after this here on Channel 4. Emily Sisson on the left, Hillary Bohr and Tashomi Mekinen on the right. The leaders of the Gate River Run, and Emily Sisson is approaching the foot of the Hart Bridge. Let's go to the top of the Hart Bridge where Justin Barney and Mike Ryan are setting up. Guys, the race is about to get real there on the Green Monster.
Yeah, Cole, it is, you can't see it from the studio, but the cloud cover is nice here. It's windy. Emily's going to have a little bit of that tailwind push coming up the monster. But, Mike, you have run this race. You know the running community very well. What makes the Green Monster so difficult? And it's not this ascent coming up this.
Actually, it's not, because like I said, it's a mile and a half from one end to the other end. But the difficult part physically is actually going downhill. The eccentric load of this race and this hill coming so deep into the race, you see the finish line, you get excited, you pick up the pace, but that downhill load of the eccentrics on the legs and of the knees and of the quads, this is a very tough finish that Cindy will experience very soon.
Yeah, you think of always that incline when you're going up a hill, whether it be bike riding, running, or something. That's always that challenge, that push, but your body has to really acclimate for that. What you see in an Emily Sisson being able to make those adjustments compared to just a normal everyday runner, how challenging is it for both of those types of athletes to navigate?
Well, it starts off actually from Flagstaff, Arizona, so she's used to hills. She's done very well with that. She's got a great stride. She has the lead. She has the buffer, so to speak, for what she can do. She's in control of this race, as we've seen. So the fact that her ability to know she's run this race, she's won it the last 2 years, she knows how to navigate the uphill and then the quick transition of the downhill and finish fast, which is what she's going to have to do today.
And the wind, we've mentioned in the broadcast how warm this race is. This is up here on the bridge, it actually feels really cool. The cloud cover has been nice. We've had peaks of sun, a little bit of rain here and there, but nonetheless, it is a nice little push up the hill here at the Hart Bridge. Mike Ryan, Justin Barney will check back in with you a little bit. We'll see Emily Sisson probably coming up the Hart Bridge anytime now. Cole, Keith?
All right, Justin and Mike, thank you very much. Yeah, you can see Emily Sisson starting to make that sweeping right turn there on the left of your screen. And she's gone past the 10K mark, the 6 mile mark. So await her split. Again, before her 5K split was 16:16, and that gave her, at that time, a 16-second buffer over Emma Grace Hurley. And on the right, Hillary Bohr in the lead, the two-time Olympian in the steeplechase, trying to win his first Gate River Run. He certainly has been close before. Third place last year here at this race. We'll take time out. When we come back, Emily Sisson in the home stretch, trying to win her third straight Gate River Run. Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Gate River Run. Cole Pepper along with Keith Brantley, the 1996 Olympic marathoner. And we have gotten to that point of the race where the Green Monster is going to be well within view of the leaders, Emily Sisson in particular. On the women's side, we were hoping to see a 10K split. For whatever reason, we're not getting that from Emily Sisson. We are from Emma Grace Hurley, the second place female runner. She clocked in at 28 minutes plus the 5, so 33 minutes there on her 10K split. And you see her right there on the right, and she is about to be caught by Hillary Bohr. And now it brings up the question of that equalizer bonus. We don't know the exact gap between Emily Sisson and Emma Grace Hurley, but here comes Hillary Bohr.
It's about 30 seconds to 45 seconds at the most.
Yeah, again, remember, it was a 5-second gap between, a 5-minute gap between the start for the elite men and the elite women. Can Hillary Bohr reel in Emily Sisson here? This is why they reduced that gap from 6 minutes to 5. They wanted a kick at the end between the men's and women's champions, and we might just get that today.
You know, my gut feeling tells me that, you know, right now, I don't even think that Bohr can actually see Emily Sisson at this point.
Not at this point. Again, she is just going past the 7-mile mark, and when she hits the foot of the Hart Bridge, that'll be basically an 8-mile mark. And then uphill for half a mile, and then downhill. It's a mile in the final stretch going down from the top of the Hart Bridge to the finish line, which again this year they'll come to the south side of the stadium and then turn to the right and have about a 140-yard shoot to the finish line near TIAA Bank Field.
And, you know, it's interesting because I'm watching Hillary Bohr's looking around, and that just tells me that, you know what, I'm happy where I am. I put in a good surge. I dropped Mekinen. I'm on my own. I'm going to win the men's field, right? But he has to decide very shortly, am I going to go after Emily Sisson?
Quick check of the watch there to see probably his pace, maybe also see where his heart is right now.
You know, this is a real gut check for him. Emily Sisson's she's in the hunted mode. And it is far better to be the hunter than the hunted at this point.
Well, now here's where the drama comes in. It's exactly why this equalizer bonus is part of this. As you see Emily Sisson going past the Beach Road Fish House there on Atlantic Boulevard, and she is getting close to the foot of the Hart Bridge, where she'll make that left turn and head up the ramp.
Just, you know, her turnover is just so consistent. And I think that's what makes her such a great distance runner. She has great rhythm. Her consistency is just flawless when it comes to, you know, even if she's hurting, she seems to always keep the same cadence.
Looks the same now as she did the first 100 meters of the race.
It's amazing. And again, this bodes well for her going into London as well.
Again, the expected showdown at the London Marathon between Emily Sisson and Kira D'Amato, with whom they've been trading American records in the marathon, half marathon.
That is going to be a race for the ages in terms of Americans.
No doubt about that, and keeping a close eye. The uphill has begun for Emily Sisson here on what is the off-ramp typically for drivers in the coming off the Hart Bridge. She'll run up the down, in essence, and head toward the top. And we will see how she works her way to the top of this bridge. And we'll be checking in at the top of the bridge now. Mike Ryan there standing by with Justin Barney. Guys, Emily Sisson is on the Hart Bridge.
Yeah, we expect to see her anytime now behind us. And Emily, we knew we would be seeing Emily Sisson crossing this area first. I think the big question with the new equalizer, could someone catch her? And maybe Hillary Bohr.
Yes, and I think how she addresses this first half of the bridge is going to make a difference. So it's tightening up. She's not having a record time-wise, but I think it's going to tighten up the equalizer and make for a great finish.
That's right. And if you can't hear, beside us, we have speakers all lined up and down the bridge. You know, last year Mike and I were in San Marco, had a band out there with us last year. This year we've got a little bit of 80s rock going on that'll greet the runners as they come up this bridge. And there's certainly the Emily Sisson entered the favorite role. Really, the equalizer really was the only question. And really, it could be the Emily Sisson rule is why that equalizer was put into effect this year.
Exactly. You know you're good when they decrease the equalizer and tighten it up. Here she comes.
Making her way up the bridge. She's gonna come into focus very, very soon right now. And I think the biggest question now for Hillary is where do you tactically, where do you decide, do you want to make that move?
Exactly. And I think she's going to have to figure that out soon because she knows they're coming. We don't have a 10K split time on her, so she doesn't know how close that window is. This is a big bonus. This is some extra cash to bring home with her. She's going to push her. She wants to, obviously, she has a women's race. She wants that equalizer as well.
Yeah, that's right. The grand prize, the first place payout increased $2,000 to $12,000 this year. The equalizer bonus is another $5,000, so this could be a very good payout for Hillary Bohr, for Emily Sisson, and we're going to see them coming up the bridge just any time now. Emily is making her way up by the line of speakers on the right-hand side of the Hart Bridge, and nobody near her right now, and we're gonna probably see right after that Hillary coming into focus. But right now it's Emily Sisson making the climb up the Hart Bridge, and she's got that slope to come down to, Mike.
She looks great. Her form is great. Like he said, her form in San Marco looks the same as it does here. She's well in control. She wants this.
You just cannot tell a world-class runner like that is affected at all. There she goes, Emily Sisson, trying to become a 3-time defending Gate River Run champion. Only the second women's runner in Gate River Run history to do that. And here we have the equalizer, Hillary Bohr, coming up, and he is within striking distance of Emily Sisson. This is going to be what we wanted to see. This is why the equalizer was cut down from 6 to 5, and we're seeing it.
Justin, you see Hillary, this run down here, Cindy only has about a 110-yard lead on this with about a half a mile to go.
Great finish set up. Cole Keith, back to you in studio.
All right, you see Hillary Bohr continuing to check his watch, kind of getting some of the data to say, do I have it to make a push here in the last mile and try to catch Emily Sisson? These are going to be our men's and women's champions, and now the drama is all about that equalizer bonus. We'll have the finish for you when we come back. The Gate River Run in the home stretch for the national championship here on Channel 4. While we were away, Hillary Bohr caught and passed Emily Sisson on the downslope coming off the Hart Bridge. He is in position to earn the equalizer bonus. And you see Bohr in front to the left, Emily Sisson on the right. They will be the champions of the Gate River Run. And approaching, going past the south side of the stadium in Daly's Place, then they'll take a right turn. And when they make that right turn, it's about 140 yards to the finish line. And these two will be crossing within seconds of one another. But as the plan was, 5 minutes making that adjustment, that has made the difference. We haven't had a men's equalizer bonus earned for quite some time. It's been the women, in large part Emily Sisson, the last couple of years, winning it. But as you see, there is Hillary Bohr. You see over his shoulder two of the men's runners, Brian Schrader and Leonard Career, both coming in. But it'll be Hillary Bohr as he makes the turn past Doug Allred, the race director right there. And here he goes with the, he sees it. Hillary Bohr waving his arms.
He's enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's good, because the time today is not as relevant as it would be if it was nice and humid.
No, but the cash will spend the same.
But the cash will spend the same.
$12,000 for the win, plus the $5,000 equalizer.
He's
bonus.
enjoying. I'm so good. I'm proud of him. I'm so happy for him.
Two-time
awesome.
Olympian in the steeplechase, Hillary Bohr is the Gate River Run men's champion. And now here comes Emily Sisson making history, becoming just the second woman in the history of this race over 46 years to win 3 straight Gate River Runs. Emily Sisson is a national champion once again. What a great finish to the race.
You know, and it is so thrilling to see Emily win for the 3rd time. And of course, Hillary Bohr, I mean, to go from the steeple, you know, 3,000 meter race, being an Olympian, to moving to 15K and half marathon is just fantastic.
And we're seeing now the times on both of them. Hillary Bohr finishes at 43:12. That is a fast time.
That is a lot faster than I thought it was going to be today.
43:12. There's Leonard Career, former 2-time winner, who's come across, Brian Schrader. So Emily Sisson at 48:27. Again, we expected this might be a slower time for her than in the past because of the heat and the humidity and also where she is in her training cycle. But I know that she would have wanted to win that equalizer bonus as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you look at the way the race set up on the men's side, Bohr had a lot of help from Mekinen driving that pace all the way through. It looked like even 10K. So Emily did not have that help. And so when you're out there alone and you're generating your own headwind, right? You have no one to draft. And so it makes it so much more difficult when you're doing that.
There's a psychological aspect to running with other people too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, she's the hunted rather than the hunter. And Hillary Bohr was the hunter, and he ended up, you know, catching that prey.
By the way, so far no other women's runners have come across. This will be the first one who just came across, and we're seeing it from above, so we can't pick out the runners' numbers, but I believe it's Emma Grace Hurley, who was second place most of the way. She finishes at 50:05.
That's a big improvement for her. Maybe not so much from a time perspective, but the competitive landscape in this race is strong.
This is the first 15K that she has run road race wise. She's run, of course, other distances, 5K, 10K, 10 milers, and so forth. But this is her first competitive 15K.
On a tricky course.
Yeah,
on a very tricky course.
On a warm and humid day, and at just 25 years of age, this will not be the last we hear of Emma Grace Hurley running here at the Gate River Run and in terms of the national scene. And we've also seen, here's another
Annie Frisbee
coming down the line. And she will be third as the women's runners. We'll see her time as she comes across. No other runners near her. Queen blaring on the speakers as they come across. Don't stop me now.
Exactly.
Apropos
That
for
is
the finish of the race.
You need to have that at the beginning of the Hart Bridge.
Just looking at some of the standings here among those men who have finished as well. Leonard Career was second. So here's a 2-time champion who finished second for the second time. In 2019, he finished second, 1 second behind Shadrach Kipkircher. So 2 seconds and 2 firsts for Leonard Career. That's a pretty good looking Gate River Run resume for the U.S. Army runner. And a few more of the runners coming across here at the finish line of the Gate River Run as well. We'll get you some of those times as they are put in there. Jessa Hansen has finished with a time of 51:15, and that's another young runner at 24 years of age finishing. So after finishing 5th place at the USA Half Marathon Championships in Fort Worth last week, Jessa Hansen comes across and she was the third place finisher on the women's side. So certainly some young runners to keep an eye on for the future of this race and on the American scene, and more of the elite men and women beginning to come across right now. We saw Ali Ostrander finish just a moment ago, and we'll keep an eye out for the local runners. There's a kick to the end. You love to see that, including Kelsey Pontius, who has qualified for the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials, Jacksonville runner, who, again, I asked her what her time was going to be. She didn't know what she was going to have a particularly strong time, but
well, you know,
she should be the first local finisher.
Absolutely, and you know, she is the cream of the crop of the local runners, the local elite runners, and you know, obviously she's pushing on the national class now, having qualified for the trials, and you know, her focus has really improved over the years, and you're seeing incremental improvement even as she gets a little bit older, into her 30s, and I think that's important to keep competing.
We'll hear from our champions when we come back. The Gate River Run, 46th edition, right here on Channel 4. You're watching continuing coverage of the Gate River Run on WJXT Channel 4. And our champions have crossed the finish line. Hillary Bohr for the men and Emily Sisson for the women. They are the national champions at 15K here at the Gate River Run. We'll hear from them coming up in just a moment. We also have the first local finisher who has come across. Jonathan Holzabos has come in at his time of 49:03. That is a 36th place finish overall among all competitors. That is a very good time.
That is a really solid time. He pushes himself from being just a good local runner to being, you know, close to regional and national class.
Yeah, so that will be a part of our continuing coverage. Our first Coast Cup winners, the top finishers among the men and the women. And again, the champion Hillary Bohr with Brian Schrader and Reed Buchanan coming in second, or sorry, beg your pardon, Leonard Carrier and Brian Schrader coming in second and third on the men's side. And on the women's side, it is Emily Sisson, followed by Emma Grace Hurley, and then Jessa Hansen. As you see these runners making the turn at Watney Park, let's head to the finish line and hear from our champion, Jamal St. Cyr, standing by with Emily Sisson.
Yeah, I'm here with Emily Sisson. Emily, a third year in a row that you're the women's champion. How are you feeling after the race?
I feel tired, but I feel happy with it. That was a good run in a solid block of marathon training. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
This is one of the hotter river run temperatures. Did the temperatures bother you at all?
Definitely, yeah. I've been training in Flagstaff, Arizona, where we just got like another 2 feet of snow like a couple days ago, so I'm not used to this heat, but I grew up in humidity, so I just remind myself that anytime I race in it, that I'm familiar enough with it, but it was hard today. Yeah, it was a grind.
I know we were talking just a minute ago about some of the wind on the river run. This year actually a little bit of a relief compared to what you'd seen the past couple of years.
Yeah, 2 years ago there was a really strong headwind on the Green Monster, is that what it's called? Yeah. So it was nice we didn't have that this year, just the heat.
All right, Emily, congratulations, and thank you for running again. We'll see. All right, Cole, Keith, back to you.
All right, again, she mentioned in the heart of marathon training. She's, of course, training for the London Marathon and the showdown we talked about with Kira D'Amato. She's been through this before. She used the Gate River Run as part of her training for the Olympic trials in the past. So interesting to see how this race fits into her schedule when you're talking about one of the elite women runners on the planet.
Well, absolutely. And you know, your muscles, your bones, your ligaments don't know the difference between a hard race and a hard run. So in that sense, this is really great training for her as well. You know, it puts her into a different league and allows her to structure the rest of her training for London based on these results. So this is a great result for her.
Yeah, very impressive to see what Emily Sisson did yet again. We have seen that Kelsey Pontius, local runner, has come across the line. She started with the elite, so her time 56:31, and that will be the fastest local time. We'll see in terms of the First Coast Cup. Because she started with the elite, she's not eligible for the First Coast Cup, but we'll be following Kelsey as she prepares for the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials. Hillary Moore, the men's winner, got the equalizer bonus as well, and he is the national champion. He's standing by with Jamal St. Cyr.
Yeah, I'm here with Hillary Moore. First off, congratulations on running a great race. I know this is one of the hotter river runs. Did the temperatures bother you at all?
You know, it's funny because when I was warming up, I was like, I've been here this is my fourth time. It never felt that it is. But, you know, it shows that when you're fit, you can run in any weather. So I felt good the whole time. It's like when I finished it, I felt like, wow, my head is sweating now. But, yeah.
Did you feel like you were running a good race from the beginning?
Yes. Apart from, I had a stitch around 5 to 6 miles, and I wanted to slow down to make sure. I've had an issue with the stitch for the last 3 weeks, so I wanted to make sure the stitch goes away before I make a big push. And I'm glad the stitch, I didn't get a stitch until now. So.
And what was your strategy on how you were approaching catching Emily Sisson? I know you kind of made your move going down the Hart Bridge. Was that always kind of your plan?
You know, I thought I was not going to catch Emily. Like, seriously, I think you slow down today because she normally runs 47. To catch her, you need to run an American record. So my best, like, it's hard today. If I run 43 low, I may have a chance. And I looked at 10K split was 28:35, and I was like, maybe I can catch him. So that's when I started pushing it.
Well, you got it done. Congratulations again. All right, Cole, Keith, back to you.
There is Hillary Moore, and again, a guy who's had some good finishes here. Last year ran well, and now is the champion of the Gate River. May said he's running with a stitch.
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody who's run and maybe overdone it knows what it feels like to run with a stitch. But he said he's been dealing with one of those, and it cropped back up. And he was able to power through it nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I thought was really interesting is that he was looking back as much as he was looking forward. And I think that side stitch was actually giving him some pause until he actually saw Emily in her sights and knew he could get her. He was checking in the back to make sure no one was coming after him.
Yeah, we talked about the equalizer bonus and the impact that it makes. It is certainly on the mind. I mean, listen, $5,000 is not life-changing money, but it'll buy a couple of dinners.
Absolutely. But, there's the pride of that as well. It's a fun thing for us to have this, sort of a competition in this event. It sets us apart from all the other races around the country.
Here are many of the faster runners here coming off the Hart Bridge, and they'll take that turn and finish up. There have been about 70 finishers so far that have clocked a time in that we've seen, including some local runners like Chris McCaffrey.
Absolutely.
And saw Julie Stackhouse just went over the top of the Hart Bridge. So let's head back up to the Hart Bridge. And Mike and Justin, you saw Julie just crest the top there.
Julie just gave Mike a hand slap before we got back on. I know she'll be chatting with Jamal at the finish line, and we saw a young kid, looked about 10, who passed about 5 minutes ago. So all ages are taming this bridge.
And that's the great thing about this race. This town really embraced it. Young, old, everybody's here. Everybody embraced it. It's a great run for spectators and a lot of fit people out here really challenging this race. A lot of fun to see.
You heard Emily talk about the headwind on the Hart Bridge, and it's been windy up here today. The cloud cover's been nice. We've had a little bit of sun peeking through, a little bit of rain early on, but again, the elements on this bridge, very difficult to predict what's going to happen, but the wind, obviously a factor for Emily Sisson, certainly a factor for this next wave of runners here.
Absolutely. Getting blustery now, but it's a welcome change. You're in the home stretch. You get out of the neighborhoods. You see the finish line is right here. You get great music. It doesn't matter how steep it is, blustery it is, windy it is. People are excited to get on the bridge and get closer to that finish.
As a runner, what is going through your mind in this final mile and a half stretch as you come up the Hurt Bridge? What is going through your mind if just an everyday runner?
Just keep it controlled. Maintain your form. It's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. Everybody's in a lot of pain. Just keep it together and finish strong. You don't want to get to the finish line and say, man, I took it too slow up the bridge, or I walked a little bit. You just want to finish strong and feel good about a long race, great race, and enjoy that last 100 meters, which is really what you work for heading into that finish chute.
Mike, as we're talking about this race before in one of our breaks, and Mike has done many of these marathons and everything, but he said this one, I asked him about Boston, he said this one, he was actually a little bit more sore after this race than you were at Boston Marathon.
Much more sore because that downhill at the end, it's the fatigue factor, because you're going loading the quads coming up the bridge, and then you really stress the knee and the eccentric, so to speak, the loading component down the hill. It's a tough combination late in the race, but again, you just want to finish it and enjoy it. A lot of fun, but this is a tough race, and the recovery, what everybody's going to have to do this afternoon and tomorrow to get over this race is going to be important.
So the everyman, is this a race that just an everyman could walk off the street and do with a little bit of training?
With a little bit of training. Yeah. It's a different distance, because it's not a 10K, it's not a 5K, it's a weird distance, but yes, with the training, with the preparation, with a great running group, this is a race that everyone can do.
Excellent. Good stuff from Mike Ryan. Cole Keith, back to you in the studio.
All right, Justin, thank you very much. See some familiar faces running in behind Justin and Mike there. This is where you start to see folks who really put in some miles to train for this. And saw a couple of guys stopping to take a breath at the top there. The heat, certainly a factor, and that is the goal for everybody, the finish line at the Gate River Run. More coverage straight ahead right here on Channel 4. Welcome back to the Gate River Run coverage here on Channel 4. The First Coast Cup goes to the fastest finishers on the men's and women's side among the local runners who did not start with the elites. And for the women, it's Laura Campbell, who is our First Coast Cup winner. She's standing by with Jamal.
Yeah, Cole, I've got Laura Campbell here, who's the First Coast Cup winner. I know you're tired. How are you feeling after the race? Did you feel like you were running a good race?
All in all, yes. Heat was definitely a factor today. I didn't run as fast as I hoped, but I did PR, and I held my place amongst the females for most of the race, so I'm really proud of that. And I finished well down the bridge, so we're done.
The wind definitely helped this year, kind of pushing you toward that finish line.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, how did you feel about running the race this year? I mean, the heat definitely changed things just a little bit for everybody. I mean, one of the hotter river runs on record.
Fantastic. Yeah, it definitely, I went out about 10 to 15 seconds slower than I would have if we'd had better temps. And for the most part, held that pace. You know, I hadn't done gate in 2 years. So it was nice to come back, and this is the fastest I've run in a decade, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be proud of, and congratulations. I guess welcome back with the First Coast Cup winner. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, Cole, Keith, back to y'all.
By the way, the last time she ran the Gate River Run was about 5 months after giving birth, and she finished with a great time.
She did.
Even better now. That's mom power right there out on the course.
Absolutely. And, you know, it was interesting because she said, right, you know, in the interview with Jamal that she started out a little bit slower. And that's so wise on a day like today. It's just, you know, you cannot predict how the humidity is going to affect you.
Yeah, and on a day like this, time's tough to go with. Place can be a better judge of how things go. But again, as she mentioned, PRing at a 15K at this point, really impressive run for Laura Campbell there. Julie Stackhouse also has finished up, and let's check in with Julie, see how her race was today, guys.
I feel like I'm underprepared here since I didn't run. I'm here with two that just finished running. Julie Stackhouse just finished the race, and we've got Dominic. He's 11. He finished the river run under an hour, so we've kind of been getting him to hang around. How'd you feel running the race?
I felt a little tired at the end, but I felt good.
How long have you been running?
I started like last year.
Do you really like running?
Yeah.
Was running the race fun?
Yeah.
Did you know you were going to beat your dad?
Kinda.
Well, that's the great part. That's one of the things that you had kind of been talking about going into the race, is that this is something that everyone can kind of enjoy. And I mean, he just shared a course with Olympians, right?
Absolutely, yeah, way to go. That's an awesome time, too. Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations, Dominic. You were definitely the youngest person, the first person your age to finish that I saw. So definitely something to be proud of. We were all impressed when we saw you coming across the finish line. All right, thanks for hanging out with us, Dominic. Appreciate it. Good job. All right, Julie, so how did you feel running? I know it's a little bit hotter than the river runs that we've gotten used to.
Oh my goodness, well, it's not quite like winning the First Coast Cup, but I did have a PR today. I caught a donut for the first time ever. Did not eat the whole thing. No, but my strategy was really conservative early. This is the most hot river run I've ever run. It's not an official barometer, but this is a lot of humidity. So really it was just a strategy of if you just kept moving at a steady pace, late you were passing so many. I mean, it was a slogfest out there. But I will say, so much support on the course, but you had to be careful the cups you were grabbing because they weren't all water.
You always got to be a little careful, but she caught a donut. Cole, Keith, I don't know if we can say the same thing.
Well, I'll tell you this, Jamal and Julie, I like my chances of catching a donut if there's one around. I'm impressed that somebody could throw it fast enough that it wouldn't go right past Julie. That's part of this race, Keith, too. For those who aren't, trying to get a time or place, there's a lot of socializing that can go along, whether you're talking about donuts or marshmallows being tossed or, the odd beverage that might help give you a little more carbs as you go along the course.
Yeah, it can. I think, in the end, this is what we were talking about before. This is such a true event for Jacksonville, and not just the running community, but think about all the family members who have helped their other family members run this race and train for it. And so it really pulls everybody in the community together. And all the cheering and yelling on what Julie said was really important, because you've got to be careful. It gets you excited. You might pick that pace up too fast and end up blowing up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, here we go. This is one of the great scenes. That's Kerry Hepler there with the Hart Bridge. He's the Green Monster. Can you beat the Green Monster to the Green Monster as he goes there, running with that contraption every year? He also collects used shoes at the River Run Expo every year to give to those who need shoes. So a lot of sights and sounds to be seen on the course of the Gate River Run. Back with more coverage of the 2023 installment, the 46th running of the Gate River. The River Run continues and will for several hours yet. Last year, the last finisher crossed in about 3 hours and 53 minutes. Have to be to the foot of the Hart Bridge by 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks experiencing this for the first time. You see Justin and Mike there on the right, keeping an eye on things. A little more leisurely pace and a few more smiles from the runners coming up the Hart Bridge, and they have a mile to go.
Smiles or grimaces?
Well, I mean, I've seen plenty of both. More smiles the slower the pace goes, it looks like.
Exactly.
You've been up that Hart Bridge and know the feeling of that. A lot of folks, though, this is their first time running this race, and for a lot of them, getting into this and trying to decide this is important to me can be a real challenge. And for some, life changes can cause a little motivation, as it did for one first-timer who I talked with this week. Sometimes a life change can promote more changes. In Vidya's case, it was becoming an empty nester. That's what started her running journey. She found a group to run with, Moms on the Run.
Used to keep tracking these running groups and which would suit my kind of profile, like first-time runners. And, this group kind of I think was what prompted me to join them. And it's mostly all ladies, and it's it doesn't stress you much on running per se, but you kind of build your endurance and you set your own goals, and that is what exactly I wanted to do.
So far, V, as her friends call her, has run 3 5Ks. After training for more than 6 months, she finished the Thanksgiving Distance Classic.
As you can see, it was a very proud moment for her. Now, she's ready to tackle her first 15K. When she moved to Jacksonville, she immediately started to hear about the Gate River Run because of her TV station of choice.
I'm quite a fan of WJXT, and I have been watching it from the time, to check on traffic alerts and all since morning. And I live in Durban Crossing, so I also have seen Melanie and Tariq, sometimes here. So I do watch WJXT regularly, but I have seen Gate on, whenever your channel used to broadcast it, I used to always wonder, see so many people running and, but I never had the courage, to even think of running.
Vidya says she couldn't have gotten to this point without the support of her running group and the friendships she's made as she put in the miles of training.
However slow you are, or one day you cannot just get your legs to move, you will have somebody with you to run. And it's not just running. I find they are helping me even build on my strength. So we have strength training also. So, I kind of am doing it like steps. It's not that you just walk out and you decide you will run 5K.
Well, we're just checking in on Vidya's time. She's just crossed the 5K split in her first river run. After just 5Ks, by the way, that's impressive. She's been training, as you said, since last April, so it's been a big push up to this point.
It's heartening to see someone who has never run before just jump into 5Ks and watch themselves build up with the target of Gate being, in March. Yeah. They start in November or so, and they have a plan. And I think it's just fantastic to see people take that leap, because running isn't a real technical, sport to get into, but it does challenge you mentally.
No doubt about it, and can physically as well, depending on how you do it. Let's check in, speaking of being challenged physically, the Hart Bridge, and it can be tough on runners, Justin Varney, as you guys just saw.
You're on.
So, Cole, Keith, it's a Hart Bridge is always a challenge. We just saw something a little scary a minute ago. People were pointing back, medic, and we walked down there, Mike and I did, and saw a runner collapse on the side of the bridge. It doesn't feel hot up here where we're at. But again, this race is one of the warmest races ever we've seen, and a young man back there was taken off by paramedics and treated. But do you see these injuries, these situations often?
Actually, because it's late in the race, the sun came out, the heat. John Gahn said it's the most humid, hottest race we've had in the history of the Gate River Run. So it's all adding up. And you throw the intensity of the bridge, things can happen to the bridge. The Hart Bridge can rip your heart out, and I think we're seeing that with some of these runners.
Yeah, we saw that. I'm glad he is going to be okay, but very scary situations in races like this do happen, and we saw firsthand of that. Young man looked like he was going to be okay. You see all ages of runners now making their way up there. Kind of the crush of people here making their way up the Hart Bridge, and hopefully we don't see a situation like that again.
I hope not. But a lot of these runners have trained really hard. When you know the runners, and I work with a lot of runners in town as a physical therapist and athletic trainer, and know how hard they've worked. They prepared for this bridge, and they've worked hard. It's nice to see them kind of reap the rewards of their hard work and preparation for months getting ready for this river run.
Yeah, the gentleman who was on the side of the road, or on the side of the bridge, said he wanted to finish this race. He trained so hard for it. Heart goes out to him. Hopefully he is recovered here in a few minutes. Cole, Keith, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Justin, thanks so much. We'll take time out. More coverage straight ahead, including talk about first-timers. There are also some in this race who have never missed the Gate River Run. We'll talk about that when we continue our coverage of the Gate River Run right here on Channel 4. Looking at the finish line for the 5K, there are 4 races associated with the Gate River Run. Not only the National Championship 15K, but there's a 5K, there's a fun run and a junior river run. And here's the 5K finish. Still warm, a third of the distance, and a lot less traffic to deal with when you run that race.
And manageable for guys like me.
Well, and definitely for guys like me. As we continue on. Of course, for some, this is an annual event that they have to be a part of. And for 20 of the runners entered in the race this year, it's happened every single year. They're called the Streakers, and we caught up with one of them this week.
It's something that you have that nobody can take it away from you. You know, it's it's an accomplishment that very few people have. I mean, everybody keeps, they keep dropping out a little at a time. And, it's probably the only thing I do that makes me have to go train. I mean, I don't train hard. I don't go far, don't go hard. I'm just lucky to finish, but it gives me a reason to keep it up because there's not, it's always, one, there's not very many people, and two, it's always fun to talk about it with other people.
Thrush said he wasn't much of a runner before the River Run, but a friend got him going in his late 20s.
2 years before there was Olympics, and a friend of mine started running. He got me into running, and it was just wanted to do it. It was exciting, like all of them. You just one foot in front of the other and repeat as necessary.
Thrush also says that he learned, like life, you get out of running what you put into it.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, because then you decide how much you want to walk or need to walk, or because since there are a lot of walkers involved, you're not out by yourself. Years ago, if you were to walk, you would be outstanding. You'd be one of the few. But now a lot of people walk, so it's not a detriment to your. It doesn't make you feel any worse.
His advice for someone who thinks they might want to get started on their own streak?
Just train. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be long. It just you have to work at it. To be successful at it, you have to work at it. And I'm not successful anymore because I don't work hard enough. But it's just, and you have to enjoy running. You have to enjoy going out by yourself and just slogging through some miles and have nobody to talk to but yourself. You get in a lot of good arguments.
And usually you lose those arguments too when you get arguments with yourself. It was great to catch up with John, and a guy who's run every one of them. And in the early years, he would help Doug Allred set up the expo and help get the start line set up. I mean, it's come a long way since that first race back in 1978.
Yeah, and I love his attitude. I run because I enjoy it. I run because it's fun. I run because I like to eat, and if I didn't, I'd explode.
Great running coach there too when he says, "Put one foot in front of the other. Repeat as necessary." No doubt about that. All right, let's head back to the finish line area. Jamal St. Cyr has some guests with him after finishing the River Run.
Yeah, Cole Keith, everybody here has the hat except for me. That means they were all in the top 10% of finishers. The race folks were telling me that the men's hats actually lasted a few minutes longer today than they did last year, just to show how much the heat kind of impacted the race.
Absolutely. I've been hearing about 3 minutes added to your time from last year.
Yeah. So, all right, all of you just finished running this race, so congratulations on that first off. How is everybody feeling? I'm sure the first word you're thinking is tired, right?
Tired. Hot.
I feel great now that it's over.
Yeah, there you go. It's the relief of crossing the finish line, right?
Feel good.
How much of a competition is it to really want to finish fast enough to get one of these hats, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people always have two goals, and that's like your time goal and get a hat.
And it's kind of like a milestone, right? To be able to walk off and have that hat on your head?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Did the heat bother you at all while you were running? A little bit?
A little bit. It was hot today. Humid. Really humid.
Could you tell that it was one of the hotter river runs on record? Definitely made a difference.
Sweating by mile 1. It's hot.
All right, well, but you all finished, so that's the good news. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed the run, and especially you can enjoy the part now that it's over. All right, Cole, Keith, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. The gentleman there with the bright-colored tank top, Dave Faraday, guy in his 60s, has tremendous runner. Worked at JU for years and years, and Dave is a terrific runner, continues to put in great times at the Gate River Run. We'll take time out, back with more coverage of the 2023 Gate River Run. More smiles and grimaces up the Green Monster. Back after this here on Channel 4. More runners getting close to the finish line, coming down the ramp off the Hart Bridge, just south of TIAA Bank Field, ready to make that turn to the right and head toward the finish line of the Gate River Run. Cole Pepper, along with 1996 Olympic marathoner Keith Brantley. Let's say you're sitting at home watching our coverage and thinking, gosh, I think I could do that next year. You've got 12 months now to get ready, which is probably plenty of time. Keith, what's the first step for somebody who wants to get ready to run the River Run next year?
Well, first step is get checked out by your doctor. Okay, make sure that if you have a history of cardiac issues and things like that, that you get a green light from your doctor, no matter what your age is, number one. Number two, then find a local program, whether it's through First Place Sports, PRS, and get with that group. Misery loves company when it comes to running, right?
Yep.
And in the end, by training with that group, you get great training advice, you get people that are helping you, water along the course, things like that, and they'll have a plan for you. And that's what you want to do.
You also coach a number of athletes who are running in this race. How valuable is coaching, and should you consider getting a coach if you're going to be a first-timer?
It can be. I think, especially for people who have, got some experience and they want to kind of move to that next level. This isn't rocket science, but it's the little things that make a difference in training. And, I've always said that it's so important to understand the relationship between adding stress in training and how you recover and how you improve. And sometimes that takes a coach to be kind of the honest blocker to be able to see things like that happening.
The other question, of course, comes up is gear. You start talking about what's essential. What do you need? I mean, shoes, all right, of some kind. But for a first timer, what do you suggest in terms of gear?
I always suggest, go to your local running store, go to First Place Sports or one of the local running stores and sit down with them and say, hey, listen, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. They'll look at your feet. They'll get a good idea of what your stride looks like, and they'll put you in the right shoes. That's what you want to start with first. The rest of the stuff, the shirt, the shorts, things like that, you can pick those up a little bit later, but get that shoe situation figured out quickly.
And lastly, I mean, I'm wearing one right now. You've got yours, so the smartwatches that can track your fitness. The value of that, to have that now versus 10 or 15 years ago, the amount of data you can get to track what you're doing is really invaluable.
Cole, I remember when we were using a push button watch. That's how old I am, right? These now, my wife bought this for me for Christmas. My wife Kim, who's an elite runner. I love these watches. They measure heart rate, they measure distance, and they're very, very accurate. So I think these are great tools, and they give you great feedback, and that's what you want.
Yeah, you want to know, hey, I felt like I was running well. How was my body actually doing?
Absolutely.
And as you're training and preparing for a big day like today, you want to know where you are along the course of your training. And a lot of these folks, you see a lot of them looking down at their watches. Some of them might have had time ideas today. I would suspect there are very few who did better than they thought they would do today based on the weather. The heat and the humidity, as we know, has been a factor today. But national champions and First Coast Cup winners have been crowned today at the Gate River Run. Back with more right after this here on Channel 4. A lot of smiling faces who see the finish line. You see this shot in the final 100 yards of the Gate River Run. Some grimaces and some celebrations, and these folks are about halfway there as they make the turn at Watney Park and turning in San Marco, making that right turn. They'll be able to get some water, and as you see, most of the folks at this point are walking or run walking. That's the other part of the conversation, Keith, about going out there for the first time to compete in this event. The Galloway approach, the run walk, if you want to run for a couple of minutes, walk for a couple. It doesn't have to be a full-out sprint. It can't be over 15K.
It can't be. And the one thing I always tell people is if this is your first 15K race, you're going to run a PR. You're going to run a personal best.
That's right.
So you got to win right before you even start the race.
And by the way, the line I like to use in any race is, I won my name group. You don't have to win your age group, but if you win your name group, especially if you have an unusual name. Now, there may be some John Smiths in the field or something, but finding some way to stay motivated and get a win every day, a big part of getting ready. Let's head back to the finish line where there are some folks who have gotten wins today. Which of all Saints here?
Yeah, you know, everybody's winning their name group here. A lot of people crossing the finish line right now. Things pretty active here as folks head out. The last time we checked in, I showed you some people that finished in that top 10% with those nifty hats. Well, all those hats officially gone now. The men's hats went 3 minutes longer this year than they did last year, while the women's hats went about 5 minutes longer. So that's just kind of a testament to the more difficult challenge out on the course today because of the heat out here. A lot of people finishing. I've heard from a few people that they could kind of see some weather coming in while they were crossing that Hart Bridge. So as people kind of get across this finish line, everybody's heading in trying to get some water and get some ice over here. So things are very active as people finish up the race here. A lot of happy faces now that they're tired but done, and they've done it. So a lot of winners here, winners of their name group, Cole, Keith.
Yeah, and right as you were tossing it back to us there, we saw a runner go down to her knees. That's a pretty common occurrence at the end of a hot race and at the end of a 15K. You and I have been at the finish line before and seen some runners literally leave it all out there on the course. They get to the end, and that's it. They're done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, again, I think, most of the runners have trained well. There are a few folks that have gotten that challenge the day before and said, hey, buddy, let's just jump in this thing. This is not the type of event to do that, and today was definitely not the day to do that.
Yeah, the heat and the humidity certainly a factor. Let's head up to the Hart Bridge one more time. Check in with Justin Barney and Mike Ryan, who are at the top of the Green Monster. And, guys, that has been an eventful place as well.
It always is, Cole, and we see the clouds moving in now. It's been very windy up here all day today. We've had cloud cover most of the day. And, Mike, you know, we've seen a lot of different styles of runners come through here today. And I think I asked you this at the last River Run when we were in San Marco, listening to the band. The 47th River Run is 1 year from now. What do you need to do to train, if you're just an out-of-shape runner, to get in shape to run this race 1 year from now?
Well, to piggyback on what Keith said with some great points about training and make sure medically you're cleared, one thing I always recommend to people is you start to build up the distance, try to spend at least half of those mileage on soft surfaces, dirt, grass, or sand. It's just a great way to get the mileage, build up the conditioning, and be a little bit more joint friendly. But be consistent. Don't try to rush at the end. Get ready. I talked to a neighbor the other day, and she wants to walk the River Run next year, and that's her goal, and she's planning to do accordingly. So walk, run, participate, be part of a great event, because again, enhancing our fitness, enhancing our health, it's a win-win.
It's interesting to hear the perspective between Keith, a world-class runner, Mike, a good runner in his own right, but also from the medical perspective. So we've got two areas covered, from the Keith running angle to the Mike running angle, and this is just such an awkward distance race. I mean, you're used to a 5K, a 10K, but a 15K is a little bit different race.
It is. You get more mileage. You got to put more time into it. So you just have to plan accordingly. Little extra time. Be smart. Like Keith said right up front, get yourself in a really good pair of shoes. That's important. Great way. You want to prevent injuries? Great way to do it with a good pair of shoes.
Excellent. A little drizzle starting to come running down now. Keith, Cole, back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Well, that might cool things down a little bit if there's a little bit of drizzle for the folks in the final mile as well. But let's talk about the national champions who were crowned here today. Hillary Bohr on the men's side and Emily Sisson on the women's side. Keith, your takeaways on their races today. Let's start with Emily Sisson, who won for the third time in a row.
Well, you know, I think the depth of the field was certainly not as great as it has been in the past. But the Emily factor is that she is so much better than everybody else at this point in this year and even last year. So, it's going to be difficult for her to be pushed by another woman, especially in a match race like this, where Hillary Bohr had a great advantage. He had someone willing to take the pace, and that helps a lot in a race like this.
You see this was coming off the Main Street Bridge early on, and Emma Grace Hurley in the red top behind her coming up onto the Main Street Bridge, rather. This was about a 10-second gap here. By the end, Emma Grace Hurley finishing second, and the gap between she and Emily Sisson was about a minute and a half. So that is a huge gap when you talk about the a race of 9.3 miles.
Well, and Emma Grace, I have to hand it to her. She ran a very risky race. She put herself between two runners that it's very difficult. You're out there, really in a zone where you're not getting any help from anyone. And, she still managed to hang on and get second. And I think that's really shows a lot of effort on her part.
And again, youth served today in the top three. You've got Emily Sisson's 31, right in the prime of her years. But you've got Emma Grace Hurley at 25 and Jessa Hansen at 24, finishing second and third. Two young runners on the women's side to keep an eye on for the future. 2 to 3
years out of college, and they're already impacting the road racing circuit in the United States, and I think that says a lot for them.
On the men's side, of course, it was a first-time winner, but somebody who's had some success here, finishing in the top 5 in the Pass of the Gate River Run, and that was Hillary Bohr, the two-time Olympian steeplechaser. He was enjoying his run. He knocked off the equalizer bonus as well, and came across in a final time of 43 minutes, 11 seconds. He was able to separate from Tashomi Mekinen around the 10K mark and just left everybody else in the dust.
Well, absolutely. And some people will argue with me on this, but I think from a percentage perspective, I think Hillary's performance was a little bit better than Emily's. At least from the, if you looked at all the times, definitely a good solid performance.
I would say so as well. And again, obviously, you're talking about the pace is going to be different. It's going to, and because he passed Emily on the downhill of the Hart Bridge to earn that equalizer bonus, and how he did it, as you mentioned. I mean, Emily went out fast and was out in the lead from the get-go. Hillary Bohr was in a pack, had a little bit of help until about the 10K mark, and then, despite running with a stitch, as he told us, he was off and moving and had a great finish.
Absolutely, and again, that says a lot, again, for how the race is structured. When you get a little bit of help from another runner, that's the last thing you have to think about is that, am I going to be caught from behind? And Emily had to worry about that the whole time.
Yeah, and she was there in the final mile of the race. And we also heard from our women's First Coast Cup winner, Laura Campbell, who PR'd today in this heat. That is impressive.
Oh,
mentioned that the last time that she ran this a couple of years ago, she was 5 months removed from giving birth to her child. Did very well in that race too, but she is a terrific local runner who had a great day today.
Absolutely, and again, she showed, there she is, and showed absolutely no caution, just tore up the race and, earned this First Coast Cup.
No doubt about it. Jonathan Holzevos won the men's First Coast Cup. We did not hear from him after the race, but he is the winner on the men's side of the First Coast Cup as the first local man across the finish line. This has been really almost exactly what we expected, I think, Keith. When we started talking about this, we said the two big storylines were Mother Nature and Emily Sisson. And as far as Emily is concerned, how would she do? Could anybody challenge her? Answer, no. And with the reduction of the gap for the equalizer bonus, could somebody catch her for the equalizer bonus? And Hillary Bohr did just that. This was as action-packed a river run as we've had in years.
It was very, very exciting, and I think this bodes well. Again, when you look at this race on the international and national circuit, it really has become a real measure of who is going to run well throughout the rest of the summer as well.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on some of those names who we saw at the top on the podium for the Gate River Run as the running season unfolds here in 2023. Back with more coverage of the Gate River Run. Finishers coming across the finish line. They'll have their finisher medal and the memories to last a lifetime. More to come right here on Channel 4. The finish line of the Gate River Run, the 15K. Boy, you can see some folks laboring across that. The heat has been a major factor. Keith, how will you remember this Gate River Run?
Well, you know, again, my biggest concern was the heat and humidity, not so much impacting the elite runners, but the recreational runners in the back of the pack. That's something that always is a big concern of mine. But the race played out exactly the way we figured it would. Emily was going to separate herself. The men's race was much more competitive early on than I thought it would be. I thought that Hillary Bohr and Carrera would actually take off together. Hillary ran a fantastic race, despite the stitch that he said he had.
Fighting through the pain, fighting through the discomfort, and winning the Gate River. And there are your champions, Hillary Bohr on the left and Emily Sisson on the right. Sisson's third straight. She is just the second woman in the 46-year history of this event to win 3 straight Gate River Runs. Now, next year, she'll have a chance to match Dina Castor, who won 4 straight and 6 overall. A chance to perhaps come back and do it one more time.
Yeah, she can etch her legacy into the Gate River Run history.
Yeah, it's a fantastic tribute to one of the best runners in the world right now. And for those of you who want to keep up with what happens next, keep an eye on what Emily Sisson does at the London Marathon. She and Kira D'Amato, who did not run in this race, the 2 top American distance runners, will be dueling in that one. Perhaps an opportunity for an American woman to win one of the biggest marathons in the world.
That would be fantastic.
They are the 2 that have been trading the American record in the marathon. Right now, Emily Sisson owns the half marathon American record, the marathon American record, and a 3-time winner of the Gate River Run. It has been quite a day at the gate. We'll have more coverage on News4Jax.com and coming up tonight on News4Jax at 6, 10, and 11. For Keith Brantley, for Justin Varney, Mike Ryan, Jamal St. Cyr, Julie Stackhouse, and our entire crew, Cole Pepper saying thanks for watching our coverage of the 2023 Gate River Run here on Channel 4.